Solomon never asked for gold, and that is exactly why gold chased him. He did not beg for wealth. He did not bargain for power. He asked for something most men today never think to ask for. Give thy servant an understanding heart. And heaven said yes. From that one request came what others spend their whole lives chasing: wealth without worry, power without panic, a kingdom at peace, a name that outlived empires. You work harder than ever. You read, you grind. You chase every strategy, yet something in you still feels lost, unfocused, restless. It is not because you are weak. It is because you have reversed the order. You pray for money, not the mind to manage it. You ask for power, not the wisdom to carry it. You chase results, but ignore the laws that produce them. In this session, we return to the ancient pattern. You are about to walk with King Solomon not as a distant figure in a holy book, but as a mentor in wealth, wisdom, dominion, and generational legacy. You will learn why understanding is wealth in seed form, why your inner kingdom must be built before your outer one, and how a modern man can live by the same laws that made Solomon the wisest and most prosperous king of his age. If you are tired of chasing what never stays, if you are ready to stop begging for gold and start becoming the kind of man gold cannot ignore, stay with me. From this moment forward, you are not just learning about Solomon. You are learning how to think like him. True wealth does not begin with money. It begins with a mind that can command it. Before Solomon ever sat on a throne, before gold filled his treasury, before kings bowed to his judgment, he prayed one simple request, a request that revealed the greatest wealth principle in all of human history. Give thy servant an understanding heart, not riches, not long life, not victory over enemies. Understanding. This is where Solomon separates himself from every ordinary man who has ever lived. He understood that wealth is not something you pursue. Wealth is something you must first become capable of carrying. Money does not make a man wise, but wisdom makes a man worthy of money. Modern society teaches the opposite. It tells you to chase more income, more followers, more opportunities, more deals. It convinces you that if you grind harder, work longer, hustle louder, success will open its doors. But if that were true, the hardest workers would be the wealthiest, and they are not. Why? Because effort multiplied by confusion produces exhaustion, not elevation. Solomon asked for the one thing that aligns every result, understanding the ability to see the law behind the outcome. Understanding is wealth in seed form. Think of wealth as a harvest. Before the harvest comes the seed. Before the seed grows, the soil must be prepared. Before the soil is ready, the farmer must understand the season, the land, the timing, the method. The modern man wants the harvest without the season, the money without the mind, the result without the rhythm. Solomon understood that wisdom is the seed, and when planted, it produces gold as naturally as a tree produces fruit. That is why Scripture says that because Solomon asked rightly, wealth chased him. He did not chase riches. Riches responded to the man he became. And here is your turning point. If you have been chasing money, your approach has been backward. Gold is not a goal. Gold is a response. The modern error, asking for results without asking for law. Look at your own life for a moment. How often have you asked, how do I make more? How do I succeed faster? How do I fix this problem? These are questions of outcome, not questions of law. The wiser question is, what must I understand to rise. This is what separates the laborer from the leader, the confused from the commanding, the man who survives from the man who builds. You have been praying for income, but not the internal structure. You have been chasing opportunity, but not the order that sustains it. You have been collecting information, but not extracting understanding. Information fills the mind. Understanding forms the man. Solomon knew that one accurate insight is worth more than 1,000 hours of labor. Because labor produces income, but understanding produces dominion. Understanding transforms you into the kind of man wealth trusts. There is a reason most lottery winners lose everything. There is a reason sudden success destroys unprepared men. There is a reason opportunity avoids those who cannot govern themselves. It is not because money is evil. It is because money obeys law. And law cannot dwell in a man without understanding. Gold must never be your master. It must be your servant. And Solomon became a king not because gold obeyed him, but because his mind obeyed law. Your creed for this chapter, say this aloud, not as a performance, but as identity. I do not chase riches. I command them by wisdom. I sow understanding and reap gold. This is the first Solomon law. Until you embrace it, every effort will feel heavy. But once you align with it, wealth becomes magnetized, not hunted. Let this truth take root. The richest man is not the man with the most gold. It is the man who understands how gold moves. Now that you have learned the seed of wealth, we move to the second law, the law Solomon used to build an unshakable kingdom within himself. Before he ruled a kingdom outside, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Solomon did not offer that line as poetry. He offered it as law, the foundational law upon which every kingdom, every fortune, and every destiny is built. Most men try to rule the world outside while the world inside is collapsing. They try to fix circumstances while their thoughts remain chaotic. They try to command results while their inner court is full of noise, fear, distraction, and self-sabotage. But Solomon understood a truth that modern men refuse to face. You cannot master land, wealth, influence, or opportunity until you have mastered the battlefield of your own mind. The inner kingdom always comes before the outer kingdom. The mind is either throne or battlefield. Look at your life. Look at your patterns. Look at your emotional reactions. Are you moving from clarity or from chaos, from conviction or from confusion, from inner law or from inner conflict? Solomon's rise had nothing to do with inheritance or political advantage. He rose because he ruled within before he ruled without. A quiet mind is not weakness. It is a weapon. A disciplined thought is not a luxury. It is a king's foundation. A governed mind produces governed behavior, and governed behavior produces governed outcomes. But an ungoverned mind, it destroys everything it touches. The man who cannot sit still for 1 hour cannot command anything for 1 lifetime. Thoughts are not visitors. They are architects. Solomon did not treat thoughts as feelings. He treated them as builders. Every thought you allow to enter your inner court becomes a worker shaping the palace of your future. Some build walls. Some tear down foundations. Some create order. Most create disorder. This is why your thoughts cannot be allowed to wander unattended. They must be led, directed, commanded. You are not the prisoner of your thoughts. You are the ruler of them. But only if you take your throne. The modern man loses the war within today. Men try to control markets, relationships, careers, and outcomes. But they cannot control their attention for more than 10 seconds. They want peace outside while they entertain chaos inside. They want results while their mind runs undisciplined. They complain about distraction, but never install mental law. You cannot outrun a disordered mind. You cannot outwork confusion. You cannot outstrategize self-sabotage. Modern problems are not problems of environment. They are problems of inner government. Solomon's mental law: stillness before judgment. Solomon could listen to two mothers argue over a child and, in a single moment, deliver a verdict so wise that the entire nation gasped. That clarity did not come from charisma. It came from inner stillness, a mind trained to hear truth before reacting to noise. Every king must develop this, and you, too, must build this inner sanctuary. Start with silence. Start with holding a thought without letting it escape. Start with commanding your attention to stay where you place it. The man who cannot hold focus cannot hold wealth, cannot hold peace, cannot hold destiny. Your creed for this chapter: say this aloud: I rule my thoughts. Therefore, I build. My outer world reflects my inner law. Repeat it until your mind bows to it. Because when you govern your thoughts, you govern your emotions. When you govern your emotions, you govern your decisions. When you govern your decisions, you govern your destiny. This is Solomon's second law. And once you master it, the world outside will begin to respond to you, not because you changed the world, but because you changed the king within. To desire power without wisdom is to pray for your own downfall. When Solomon ascended the throne, God handed him a blank check, a divine invitation: ask for whatever you want. Most men would ask for wealth, victory, status, or long life. But Solomon did not hesitate. He did not consider gold. He did not consider glory. He asked for discernment, the ability to judge rightly, to see truth beneath appearance, to understand the structure behind every outcome. And because he asked lawfully, not emotionally, not selfishly, God answered with wisdom and everything else men normally worship. This reveals one of the greatest wealth principles in existence. Power given to the unprepared becomes punishment. Power given to the wise becomes dominion. Most men today seek power prematurely. They want wealth before they understand money. They want status before they understand character. They want influence before they understand responsibility. They want leadership before they understand themselves. And when they finally receive what they begged for, it destroys them. Sudden money amplifies their undisciplined habits. Influence exposes their lack of emotional mastery. Opportunity reveals their poor decision-making. Responsibility magnifies their weak foundation. This is why success delays for some men. It is not punishment. It is protection. God does not withhold power from you. He withholds it until you can carry it. The moment wisdom and capacity align, power flows, not as luck, but as law. Solomon's request was a blueprint, not a miracle. He did not ask for outcomes. He asked for capacity. He did not ask for riches. He asked for the mind that could manage them. He did not ask for victory. He asked for the discernment to make decisions worthy of victory. This is why heaven responded, because you asked wisely. Everything you did not ask for will also be given. This is spiritual mathematics. When a man seeks understanding before reward, reward becomes inevitable. But when a man chases reward before understanding, destruction becomes inevitable. Your modern translation of Solomon's prayer: most men pray like this: give me success, give me wealth, give me opportunity. But the Solomon-aligned man prays differently: give me the wisdom required for the future I desire. Give me the capacity to hold what I seek. Make me the kind of man who cannot be corrupted by abundance. This is not humility. This is strategy. Because wealth without capacity is loss, power without character is collapse, opportunity without readiness is embarrassment, influence without wisdom is danger. The greatest spiritual law of power is not something to be chased. It is something to be trusted with. And trust is not granted to emotionally driven men, only to men who seek law, wisdom, and discernment. This is why success feels slow for many. They think God is delaying them, but in truth, He is refining them, preparing them, protecting them. A weak man with sudden power becomes a disaster. A wise man with rising power becomes a king. Your creed for this chapter, speak this aloud with conviction. I do not seek power before wisdom. I seek the mind that can sustain what I desire. I ask not for gold, I ask for understanding. Say it again until your subconscious absorbs the pattern. Because when you ask as Solomon asked, you rise as Solomon rose. And in the next chapter, you will discover the law that multiplied Solomon's influence not through noise, but through mastery of speech and the sacred discipline of silence. Power is not in the volume of your words, but in the weight of them. A single sentence from Solomon could settle a nation. A single judgment could end conflict, reveal truth, or silence deception. Yet Solomon was not known as a man who spoke often. He was known as a man who spoke wisely. Today, men confuse noise for confidence. They mistake loudness for leadership. They think dominance is achieved by speaking first, speaking fast, or speaking without thought. But Solomon understood what only a few ever learn. A man's tongue can build his kingdom or burn it to the ground. Silence is a weapon, not a weakness. The world trains you to react instantly, to comment, to respond, to defend, to explain, to prove. But reactions are the language of the ungoverned mind. Silence, on the other hand, is the language of kings. Silence reveals truth. Silence exposes motives. Silence gives time for wisdom to rise to the surface. Silence prevents the foolishness that destroys opportunities. John D. Rockefeller, Carnegie, Ford, the greatest builders of empire, all shared one trait: they were intentionally quiet. Rockefeller would sit in meetings for 20 minutes without speaking. Carnegie listened more than he advised. Ford often processed in stillness before opening his mouth. Why? Because they understood this law. A man who cannot control his tongue cannot control his future. Your words are not expression, they are creation. Most people speak to release emotion. Kings speak to release law. Every sentence you say about your life becomes a seed. Every complaint becomes a command to your subconscious. Every fearful statement becomes permission for doubt to grow. Every declaration of strength becomes architecture for destiny. Your words do not describe your world, they build it. This is why Scripture warns life and death are in the power of the tongue. And Solomon lived by this truth. When he spoke, he did not speak to impress. He spoke to govern. He spoke to direct reality. He spoke with the precision of a king shaping the future. The undisciplined tongue destroys what discipline builds. Think back on your life. How many battles did you lose because you spoke too soon? How many opportunities slipped because you revealed too much? How many relationships cracked because you reacted before thinking? How many doors closed because you filled silence with insecurity? A single emotional sentence can undo months of progress. A single careless word can damage what wisdom is trying to build. This is why Solomon trained his tongue as strictly as he trained his mind. Not everything you think should be spoken. Not everything you feel should be expressed. Not everything you know should be revealed. A king's strength is measured not by what he says, but by what he chooses not to say. Your daily practice, the law of the tongue, from this day on, install these inner commands: I speak only when it builds. If your words weaken your aim, silence is victory. My words are weapons of order. Speak only what aligns with your purpose and identity. I rule my tongue. Therefore, I command my outcomes. You cannot speak like a victim and rise like a king. Your creed for this chapter. Say it aloud with authority. I speak with precision. I rule with restraint. My words create my future. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Because once you master the tongue, once you speak with intention, move with silence, and command with clarity, you will step into the same power Solomon possessed, the ability to shape reality with nothing but your words. And in the next chapter, you will learn the law that turns personal wisdom into multiplied power, the law of the mastermind circle that shaped every empire from Solomon to Carnegie. Wisdom grows in silence, but multiplies in the presence of the prepared. Solomon did not become the wisest man on earth by isolation alone. Yes. He sought God in solitude. Yes. He cultivated understanding in silence. But he also surrounded himself with scribes, counselors, and men who honored lawmen capable of receiving and multiplying wisdom. This is a truth as old as civilization and as present as every modern empire. No man rises alone. He rises by alignment. The self-made man is a myth. The environment-made man is the reality. You are being shaped at this very moment, not just by your habits, but by the voices around you, the standards near you, and the minds that influence you without a word. Your circle determines your ceiling. Look closely at your life. Look at the 5 people who hear your dreams, your frustrations, your plans, your doubts. Do they sharpen your discipline? Do they elevate your thinking? Do they honor principle? Do they challenge your weakness? Do they move with intention? Or do they drag you into small talk, distraction, comfort, and compromise? Because here is the law. You cannot build a kingdom while sitting at the table of clowns. Solomon did not share his proverbs with fools. He wrote them for sons, for seekers, for men who honored spiritual law. Carnegie did not surround himself with flatterers. He surrounded himself with thinkers, men who could calculate, reason, strategize, and obey principle. Schwab rose because Carnegie lifted him. Ford rose because Edison sharpened him. Rockefeller rose because he built a council of disciplined minds around him. Look at every man who built anything lasting. His circle was intentional, not accidental. The law of strategic association: wisdom shared with fools is wasted. Wisdom shared with the prepared is multiplied. This is why you must evaluate your environment with the seriousness of a king choosing his generals. Ask yourself, who can carry my vision? Who understands law? Who honors silence, discipline, and purpose? If no one in your current circle qualifies, do not panic. This is the sign you are evolving beyond the environment that once held you. Some men cannot walk with your next version. Their presence will weaken the structure you are trying to build. Release them with no bitterness, but with certainty, because the price of keeping the wrong circle is always the death of your potential. Build your counsel with intention. Solomon had scribes who recorded his wisdom. Carnegie had a mastermind group. Jesus had 12 core disciples. Ford had Edison. Schwab had Carnegie. This pattern is not tradition. It is law. Greatness requires counsel. So build yours. Select men who honor discipline, Choose those who can keep confidence. Seek those who think long-term stems. Avoid men who fear silence or worship comfort. Have one meeting per week, 1 hour of focus, one principle studied, one action agreed upon and executed. No gossip, no entertainment, no ego. This is not a social gathering, it is a sacred chamber for builders. Why the wrong circle destroys kings. Not all influence is loud. Sometimes the most damaging influence is a quiet mediocrity that dilutes your fire. A man may never tell you directly to lower your standards, but his lifestyle will whisper permission. Another may never tell you to drift, but his inconsistency will infect your own. A third may never tell you to quit, but his comfort will feel contagious. This is why Solomon wrote, "Walk with the wise and become wise. Walk with fools and you will suffer harm." Not maybe, not sometimes, always. Your creed for this chapter, say this aloud: I build a circle of wise men. I multiply power through alignment. Iron sharpens iron, and I choose iron. Let this law settle into your bones, because once you intentionally shape your environment, once you eliminate the foolish and choose only the prepared, your rise will accelerate beyond anything you have experienced. In the next chapter, you will learn why purpose, not money, is the only structure strong enough to hold Solomon-level wealth, and why riches without aim always end in ruin. Riches without purpose is poverty wearing a crown. Solomon warned of a man who labors endlessly, gathers wealth tirelessly, builds ceaselessly, only to hand it all to another who neither earned it nor understands its value. Why does this happen? Because the first man worked with effort, not aim. He built with strength, not spirit. He gained the world but lost the reason. And that is the modern condition. Men chase coins but starve meaning. Men accumulate possessions but lack direction. Men work relentlessly yet feel empty, restless, and unfulfilled. Why? Because they have violated a spiritual law. Profit without purpose collapses. Purpose without profit endures until profit arrives. You were not designed to chase money. Money was designed to serve your purpose. When purpose does not lead, wealth becomes a curse. When purpose leads, wealth becomes a tool. The modern trap wealth as escape. Ask the average man why he wants to become rich. You will hear: to escape my job, to prove people wrong, to stop worrying, to live comfortably, to finally feel successful. These are not purposes. These are wounds. A wounded purpose cannot sustain wealth. Any blessing given to a wounded man becomes fuel for further destruction. Solomon did not ask for riches because he understood this law. Wealth without clarity becomes vanity. Wealth with clarity becomes destiny. Purpose gives wealth its assignment. Henry Ford did not build cars for money. He built mobility, freedom, dignity for the common man. That purpose gave birth to an industry that continues a century later. Carnegie did not chase steel for ego. He chased progress, infrastructure, growth, national development. Money became the byproduct of a vision larger than himself. Solomon sought wisdom to govern, not wealth to consume, because the purpose was noble. The wealth was limitless. Purpose is the true engine of abundance. Gold chases the man who knows where he is going. Write your purpose or your fortune will be wasted. Stop telling yourself you'll figure it out later. Stop pretending you can drift your way to destiny. Stop collecting ideas but never declaring direction. Your subconscious obeys what is written, not what is wished for. So ask yourself directly, why must I become wealthy? What will my wealth build? Who will my life uplift? What vision will my riches serve? If these answers are blurry, your results will be blurry. A written purpose is a throne. A vague purpose is a prison. Your purpose must be bigger than your pain. If your purpose is only to escape struggle, you will lose your fire once struggle disappears. If your purpose is only revenge, your vision will collapse once you outgrow your enemies. If your purpose is only comfort, your discipline will die the moment comfort arrives. Purpose must be rooted in principle, not impulse, insecurity, or fear. Purpose must be anchored in service, not ego, envy, or competition. Purpose must elevate you into a higher version of yourself, not deeper into your wounds. Daily ritual tie every goal to your purpose. One business, tie it to your purpose. One investment, tie it to your purpose. One morning routine, tie it to your purpose. One financial target, tie it to your purpose. This alignment creates something rare, unstoppable consistency. When purpose fuels effort, discipline becomes instinct. When purpose fuels sacrifice, sacrifice becomes joy. When purpose fuels vision, vision becomes prophecy. You are no longer working for money. Money is working for your mission. Your creed for this chapter, say this with clarity: I do not gather wealth without direction. Purpose is the foundation of my fortune. Say it until your nervous system believes it. Say it until your decisions align with it. Say it until every act you take is built on purpose. Because once your purpose is clear, once your aim is written and carried daily, wealth can no longer intimidate you, confuse you, or corrupt you. It must obey you. And now, in the next chapter, you will learn the law that transforms every setback, every failure, betrayal, and loss into fuel for your rise. Just as Solomon, Lincoln, and every great builder learned to do, the difference between the wise and the foolish is not in how often they fall, but in how deeply they learn. Solomon was not great because he lived a life free from conflict, error, or opposition. He was great because nothing that happened to him was wasted. Every challenge sharpened him. Every conflict revealed truth. Every mistake refined his understanding. Every enemy became a mirror reflecting his blind spots. This is the law that separates ordinary men from kings. Failure destroys the man who avoids it, but elevates the man who studies it. Modern men run from failure as if it is a sign of weakness. They hide their mistakes, numb their disappointment, distract themselves from their pain, and in doing so, they throw away the very material that could have made them powerful. The wise man does the opposite. He records, he reviews, he extracts, he transforms. Where the fool sees tragedy, the wise man sees instruction. Where the fool feels attacked, the wise man feels corrected. Where the fool sees an enemy, the wise man sees a teacher wearing a disguise. Pain is a messenger, not a punishment. Every setback contains information. Every disappointment reveals a law you violated. Every failure exposes a structure that must be rebuilt. The man who learns only when praised remains fragile, but the man who learns through pain becomes unbreakable. This is why Abraham Lincoln rose despite endless defeat. He failed in business. He lost elections. He battled depression. He endured ridicule. Yet he recorded his losses, studied them, corrected himself, and rose with more strength than before. He was not merely resilient. He was instructed by adversity. This is the difference. Resilience endures pain. Wisdom transforms it. Your failures are blueprints in disguise. Ask yourself, what if the setback was not meant to stop you, but to sharpen you? What if the betrayal was not meant to break your spirit, but to expose your blind spots. What if the financial loss was not meant to punish you, but to teach you a law you ignored? What if everything you call obstacle is actually curriculum? Solomon understood this. That is why he did not run from conflict, he judged through it. He did not hide from uncomfortable truths, he commanded clarity through them. The man who studies his pain becomes wiser than the man who avoids it. The three-step law of transforming failure into power. Record the failure. Write down exactly what happened. Not emotionally, not dramatically, objectively. A general studies his battlefield. You must study yours. Extract the law. Every failure is rooted in a violated principle. Ask yourself, did I ignore discipline? Did I delay action? Did I trust someone I should have questioned? Did I speak when silence was required? Did I drift from my purpose? Find the principle you broke and rebuild it. Install new behavior. Immediately insight without correction changes nothing. You must rewrite your response while the lesson is still hot. Act differently the very next day. Speak differently. Decide differently. Move differently. This is how kings are forged, not in comfort, but in correction. Enemies as teachers, the highest form of wisdom. When someone betrays you, mocks you, competes with you, or opposes you, you have two choices. You can become bitter or you can become better. The wise man says, "You revealed where I was blind. For that, I am now armed." Your enemy reveals what your friend never sees. Your critic exposes the weakness your pride tries to hide. Your competitor forces growth your comfort would never produce. This is not softness. This is strategy. A man who can learn from pain becomes unstoppable. Your creed for this chapter. Speak this with authority. Failure feeds my wisdom. No enemy can defeat a man who learns faster than he loses. Every setback becomes strategy. Every wound becomes instruction. Let this truth take root inside you, because when you stop fearing failure and start extracting from it, life can no longer break you. It can only build you. And now, in the next chapter, you will learn Solomon's most practical and uncompromising law, the discipline of daily structure, the invisible architecture that makes kings unshakable and empires unstoppable. A kingdom without law collapses. A mind without structure wanders. A man without discipline destroys his own potential. Solomon's reign was not held together by charisma, charm, luck, or talent. It was held together by order, by the daily, unbreakable structure through which he governed his life, his judgment, and his kingdom. Modern men worship motivation. Kings worship law. Motivation fluctuates. Emotion shifts. Circumstances change. But law, internally written and fiercely guarded, creates consistency, identity, and dominion. This is why Solomon's empire did not crumble under pressure. It was built on the rhythm of discipline. This is the law. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is a structure. A king does not rise because he feels powerful. He rises because his life is engineered to produce power. Most men fail for one reason: lack of inner law. Ask the average man how he decides his actions each day. He will say, "I do what I feel like. I try to stay motivated. I hope for a productive day." Hope is not a plan. Emotion is not a strategy. Motivation is not a foundation. A man without written law becomes a servant to his impulses. He wakes without direction. He moves without intention. He works without aim. He sleeps without clarity. And at the end of the year, he wonders why nothing has changed. Solomon would tell him plainly, "You lacked law. You lacked structure. You lacked a system that could support your destiny. The king's morning rise by law, not by mood. Your morning is your throne. Your first hour determines your power. A drifting morning produces a drifting man. A reactive morning produces a reactive mind. A silent, structured, disciplined morning produces a king. Write this law of rising my day begins on purpose, not by accident. Set a time. Honor it. Wake with intention, not negotiation. You cannot rule a kingdom if you cannot rule your alarm clock. The law of direction: speak your aim before the world speaks to you, before messages, before noise, before responsibilities. Declare your purpose out loud. A king reminds himself of his mission daily. When you speak your direction each morning, the mind aligns. The emotions settle day. The distractions weaken then. The day obeys. Clarity is not something you wait for. It is something you command. The law of work measure output, not effort. Most men confuse busyness with progress. They work for hours, yet accomplish little. Kings measure output, concrete results, executed tasks, completed objectives. Write your daily standards. Meet them without question. You do not rise by trying. You rise by executing. The law of thought: guard your inner court. Not every thought deserves entry into your mind. Not every feeling deserves attention. Not every idea deserves pursuit. Your mind is a palace. Your thoughts are its citizens. Not all are worthy. If a thought weakens, you remove it. If a thought contradicts your purpose, replace it. If a thought breeds fear, silence it. Discipline begins in the mind long before it appears in action. The law of reflection: end your day as Solomon would. A king does not sleep without knowing how he governed. Each night, sit in silence. Review your actions. Where did you obey your law? Where did you drift? What must be corrected tomorrow? Reflection is not self-criticism. It is self-government. Without review, discipline decays. With review, discipline becomes identity. Why discipline produces power structure, creates stability. Stability creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence creates authority. Authority creates results. This is the unseen hierarchy behind every powerful man. Discipline is not restriction. It is liberation. It frees you from chaos, confusion, hesitation, and weakness. A disciplined man is undefeatable because he does not crumble under the weight of his own inconsistency. He becomes, like Solomon, a fortress. Your creed for this chapter: say this aloud: I write my law. I live my law. I rise by law. Nothing can shake the man who stands on structure. Let these words shape you. Because once discipline becomes your architecture, you no longer chase excellence, you produce it. And now, in the next chapter, we enter the highest dimension of Solomon's understanding: reverence, the law that anchors all others and determines whether a man rises or collapses. Wealth without reverence is corruption. Power without reverence is collapse. Success without reverence is self-destruction. Solomon ruled over nations, commanded wealth, judged with precision, and built an empire that outlived him. Yet when he looked back on his entire life, he wrote one conclusion at the very end: fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Not gain riches, not chase success, not seek pleasure, not protect your reputation, but fear God, meaning reverence, alignment, and acknowledgement of the source, and obey divine law. This was Solomon's ultimate wisdom, the highest truth behind every throne he built. Because Solomon understood something the modern world has forgotten: no kingdom can outlast the man who abandons divine order. Reverence is not religion. It is alignment with higher law. Reverence does not mean superstition. It does not mean empty rituals. It does not mean fear as in terror. Reverence means this: acknowledging a law greater than ego, respecting the source above all outcomes, aligning decisions with eternal principles, living as a steward, not as a master, placing truth above convenience, obeying conscience, even when no one sees. Reverence is the compass that prevents the talented from becoming tyrants, the wealthy from becoming corrupted, the powerful from becoming blind. It is the invisible discipline that keeps kings from collapsing. Solomon witnessed this firsthand. Nations fell not because of lack of soldiers, but because the rulers abandoned divine law. Their arrogance replaced humility. Their ego replaced order. Their desires replaced principle. And once reverence left, collapse followed. Why modern men fail despite winning today? Men can accumulate wealth and still feel empty. They can gain influence and still lose themselves. They can achieve success and still collapse internally. Why? Because they pursue outcomes without aligning to the higher structure that sustains them. You can build a skyscraper, but if the foundation is sand, the collapse is inevitable, not because of the height, but because of the lack of reverence. The man who believes he is the sole source of his success is the man most likely to lose it. Solomon lived with the awareness, I am not the source. I am the steward. And that awareness made him unshakable. Divine law governs all true success. Carnegie understood the law of compensation, though he never called it religious. Rockefeller aligned with principles of fairness, usefulness, contribution. Ford obeyed the law of purpose and service. These men understood, consciously or not, that there are eternal laws governing wealth, power, and influence. Divine order is not mystical. It is structural. It is the law of cause and effect, the law of seed and harvest, the law of purpose and reward, the law of obedience and expansion, the law of truth and consequence. Solomon did not create these laws. He aligned with them. And that alignment is what made him king. What it truly means to fear God, it means your standard is higher than public opinion. It means your conscience governs your actions. It means you obey principle even when it costs you something. It means you live for legacy, not applause. It means you treat your gifts as assignments, not possessions. It means you understand you cannot cheat eternal law. You can only cheat yourself by ignoring it. Reverence produces wisdom. Wisdom produces alignment. Alignment produces power. Power produces legacy. This is why Solomon's conclusion was simple but absolute. Reverence is the root of all true success. Your creed. For this chapter, speak this aloud. I rise by obedience to divine law. True wisdom begins with reverence. I am a steward of my gifts, and I build what cannot be broken. Let this truth settle deeply into your identity, because without reverence, every previous law collapses. But with reverence, every law you have learned becomes unshakable. And now, you are ready for the final chapter where Solomon's entire system of power, wealth, understanding, and inner rule becomes not just knowledge, but identity. Knowledge changes your thoughts. Identity changes your destiny. You have walked through Solomon's laws: understanding, thought, governance, discernment, speech, circle, purpose, refinement, discipline, reverence. But none of these laws matter unless they become identity. A truth held in your mind can inspire you for a day. A truth installed in your identity will guide you for a lifetime. This final chapter is the bridge between who you were and the king you are becoming. The world does not bend to information, it bends to identity. This is the final wisdom. Solomon lived by, a man becomes what he repeatedly declares, obeys, and embodies. Not what he reads, not what he hears, not what he intends, but what he practices until it becomes the bones of his being. Solomon's greatness did not come from reading ancient scrolls. It came from living the law daily until his mind, speech, and actions were carved by principle. Modern men drown in information but starve in identity. They listen to wisdom but do not become wise. They learn strategy but do not become strategic. They speak of purpose but do not live with direction. You will not repeat their fate, because the purpose of this entire message is simple: to reforge your identity into a man of law, wisdom, clarity, and dominion. Identity is your true kingdom. Solomon ruled a nation, but he first ruled himself. Your future empire is not money, not influence, not achievements. Your true kingdom is your identity, because a man who sees himself as disciplined becomes disciplined. A man who tells himself he is wise makes wise decisions. A man who declares he is purposeful moves with direction. A man who believes he is divinely guided lives with divinely guided. Confidence. Identity is the silent engine behind every action you take. You can try to succeed through effort, but you will burn out. You can try to succeed through motivation, but it will fade. You can try to succeed through luck, but luck has no loyalty. But if you succeed through identity, you become inevitable. The 3 pillars of kingly identity declaration: speak as the man you intend to be. Your subconscious does not respond to desire. It responds to repetition. This is why Solomon prayed with precision. He didn't ask vaguely. He declared identity: I am your servant. Give me an understanding heart. Speak your identity daily, I think, with clarity. I rise with discipline. I build with purpose. I walk in divine law. I command wealth by wisdom. Say it until your nervous system accepts it as reality. Alignment live according to your inner law. Identity without structure collapses. Identity requires law. This is why Solomon built his life around rhythm, not impulse. Your identity must be reinforced by your standards, your wake-up law, your work law, your thought law, your speech law, your purpose law, your reflection law. What you do daily becomes who you are permanently. You are writing your identity. Each morning you rise, and each evening you reflect. Let no day contradict the man you are becoming. Embodiment move as if the identity is already true. This is the greatest secret great men understand. You do not wait to feel like the man. You act like him, and the feeling follows. Solomon acted as king long before he felt prepared. Carnegie acted as a leader long before wealth arrived. Ford acted like an innovator long before success validated him. Identity is not proven. Identity is chosen. Walk as the man now. Sit with posture. Speak with intention. Decide with firmness. Work with mastery. Move with faith. Think with clarity. Your body must experience the identity until your mind accepts it and your destiny manifests it. From this moment, the old man is done. Everything before this chapter was preparation. This chapter is rebirth. The man who doubted, hesitated, drifted, scattered his energy, that man is gone. He served only to show you who you are not. Now, a new man takes the throne, a man of law, a man of vision, a man of wisdom, a man of structure, a man of purpose, a man of divine reverence, a man who commands wealth, a man who builds with intention, a man who stands unshaken. And this is the moment of coronation, where the crown is not placed on your head, but carved into your identity. Your final creed: speak this aloud: I live by the wisdom of kings. I obey divine law. I rule my thoughts, my actions, and my destiny. I am aligned with eternal order. I command wealth by wisdom. The kingdom I build begins within, and nothing can shake it. Say it again. With breath, with conviction, with posture. This is no longer a speech. This is your new identity forming. The transformation is complete, but the work begins now. Now you must write your law, repeat your law, live your law, guard your law, and expand your law. For Solomon's wisdom is not history. It is blueprint. It is instruction. It is destiny waiting for the man who chooses to embody it. And you have chosen. The kingdom begins now. Before this moment, Solomon's wisdom was a story. Now it is a system living inside you. You have walked through law. You have walked through identity. You have walked through the unseen architecture that builds kings. And something in you has shifted, not in theory, but in nature, because the man who began this video is not the man sitting here now. The old version of you, the one who chased results without understanding, the one who moved without law, the one who prayed for riches but not for wisdom, he has been replaced. A new mind has risen. A new standard has been installed. A new authority has awakened. You are no longer the man who begs for gold. You are the man who commands it through wisdom. You are no longer the man who drifts in confusion. You are the man who governs his thoughts like a kingdom. You are no longer the man who reacts to life. You are the man who builds life by law. From this moment forward, walk differently, speak differently, decide differently, build differently. For the wisdom of Solomon is not meant to be admired, it is meant to be embodied. And when you embody it, the world will know. Your results will know. Your future will know. Because the man of wisdom, the man of structure, the man of reverence, the man who rules within cannot be stopped. If this message awakened something inside you, if it sharpened your identity, strengthened your direction, or restored a fire that life tried to extinguish, subscribe to Hill Mindset Legacy, like this video to push this message further. Comment, I build by law to declare your new identity. Share this with a man who is ready to rise. This channel is office esters, not entertainment. This is a training ground for kings, a sanctuary for warriors of purpose, a forge for strong minds and unshakable spirits. Every video is a tool. Every message is a blueprint. Every word is designed to build your inner kingdom. And we are just getting started. Welcome to Hill Mindset Legacy, where wisdom becomes wealth, identity becomes destiny, and men become kings.